You started your career at Wofford, 08, 09. I think you sat out the 10-year and then played 11 at Carolina. Just talk about your baseball career to that point. High school, obviously, we all know that the recruiting in baseball, it just starts so early for high school kids. But what was the recruiting process like for you, again, being a South Carolina guy, and what landed you at Wofford for your first stop?
Yeah, man, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. So I grew up in the state, South Carolina, playing ball. So, and I grew up in Greenville, which was kind of dead in the middle of Clemson and Carolina. So, you know, a normal sentiment for a kid growing up is they want to play baseball, Clemson or Carolina. Mostly it's Carolina. And that was kind of a dream a lot of us had. And so, believe it or not, USC was the first school to ever recruit me at 15 years old. So at sophomore in high school, really? I got the letter, and it was, you know, how good that feels then. I unfortunately had 2 major injuries in high school, 2 hamstrings, one year, one the next. And then all the big schools were like, we'll see you later. So that was tough. I remained playing on one of them because we were on a state championship run. So I kept playing and kind of hurt it a little worse. And so I ended up at Wofford, which was actually meant to be. And by the way, at Riverside, the numbers were there, man. We ended up my freshman year, at Riverside, we had 9 guys go D1 on one team. Wow. And that year we were preseason number 1 in the nation.
The hype was real.
Out of every high school, we were preseason number 1 in the nation, and ended up 4th. So I was always on like teams that knew how to play and knew how to win. So I ended up at Wofford though, and had a great experience. Was a freshman All-American, had a really solid sophomore year as well. And for me, they didn't have what I wanted to study. It wasn't a winning program either. And I was actually fortunate enough to be able to try my hand and go and try to find another place to play, which turned out to be the right move. So I left school and nearly had a waiver to play, which was tough because, you know, I'd have been competing for on the 2010 squad as well. So it was an amazing, bittersweet time for me to be on the team. And it's crazy because you do every single thing with the team until the season starts. Then you're like shunned from the team. And the NCAA is like, you literally can't even eat a meal with these guys anymore. And so it's like, okay. So I had to sit back and watch that all happen. And while it was amazing and great, I remember I went to summer ball when they went to Omaha and down the World Series run. So I'm like, okay, they're going to live their dream. I should be there, but I'm not, So I remember being on my summer ball squad and watching, me and my new team watching on ESPN, and they just giving me crap for like, man, like
that could be
why are you sitting here next to me? Yeah. So it was tough. It was tough to, and Logan Munson was the other one that shared that. He came from UNC. So we both were like stuck in this weird spot of like, this is great, but not really, So
I think Munson played at AC Flora, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we were, and that was our high school rival.
Okay, yeah.
Riverside's
we played.
I
think it was 07 or I think 08. We played in the Flora Classic. Or whatever.
Yep. Okay.
I played for North Augusta.
Okay, cool. Okay, perfect.
So we had
we were
couple
all
of
the same age range. Yeah, for sure.
A couple of run-ins. For sure.
I love that.
I'm curious to hear more again about the Wofford experience and the transferring thing because now the transfer portal is just changed. Everybody transfers. Like it just seems like they do, right? But I feel like you transferred before transferring was cool, if you will. Like
totally.
And I know you talked a little bit off air. Obviously, you went there and kind of similar. We had a similar college experience in the sense of a coaching change and just how that kind of throws everything for a loop. I mean, when did the idea, I guess, or the decision, when did you start thinking about the whole transferring thing? And how did South Carolina, I guess, come back in the picture? Did you have a lot of contact and conversation with Tanner and Monty Lee, I guess, and Chad Holbrook? Like, sure. I'm just curious, like, how did that all come about where you ended up in Columbia?
Yeah. And I'm unique. And cause just as you said it was before transferring was cool. Yeah. So it was like, and I remember actually the way it worked out for me was this was when they were trying to figure out what they were going to do. So like they had changed the rules a couple times. They were trying this and that. I remember the Steph Curry's brother at Duke basketball, they had won the year before, and then they decided to change all these rules on them because they had transfers and whatever it was specifically. I don't remember, but I remember that hurt me because then they changed the rule. And so I left school and I nearly got a transfer to play for academic reasons. So I said, which was true. I left for academic reasons. Unfortunately, I did not get that waiver. So at that time, when you were D1 to D1, you had to sit. Now, weirdly for me at Wofford, like I said, I had really good 2 years there.
Right.
After my freshman year, I started to feel like I didn't want to be there anymore, but I had such a good kinship with the teammates. I was close to home. I had some things positively still going. So I held out another year, thought, let's give this one more try. And then things got worse for me. I fell into a depression actually at that time too. Didn't vibe with the coach, was still playing good ball, but I was also studying things I wasn't even wanting to study. So I was like, I got to get out of here for a lot of reasons, and was actually fortunate to do so. The problem with that though was if I wanted to still play, I couldn't tell anybody I was going to leave. So if my coach found out I was going to leave, he was obviously not going to play me.
Right.
So it became this weird, like almost like living a lie type thing my sophomore season at Wofford, to where I still hit 350 and 8 bombs, but I had to, I couldn't even tell my roommate I was leaving, because in case it got out there. So it was hard. It was a hard situation. So then after the season, it was a very strange thing too, because then you only had like 2 months to try to find somewhere to play. So all you have is a couple months during the summer. So then I just basically what I did was I put myself out there and just started emailing coaches all over again, me. So it was like this weird thing of like, hey, I'm trying to leave school. Do you like what I can do, or whatever? And fortunately I had a couple really good games against USC. And we whipped them actually our second year, which was funny.
I think I remember that.
Actually. Like real bad. Yeah. And, so I was like 3 for 4. And, so I showed out again. I was freshman All-American. So I had the numbers to allow me to probably go play somewhere else, but it was a bizarre thing. So I went on and I remember I didn't even want to go to Clemson, because when I hurt myself in college, every other school was at least, cordial to me and said, hey, we hate it, man. Sorry. Clemson was most heavily recruiting me, so much so they were literally taking me to Duke basketball games and like this and that. And then when I got hurt, they just not another word from them ever again.
Old Jack Leggett.
See you later. Yeah, exactly. So I put myself out to like Florida, Coastal, a few other schools. And strangely, I remember I went on an official visit to Coastal, and the head coach didn't even come to meet me while I was there. Didn't even come say hi. Like there's a story of Witt when I interviewed him for the film, and he talks about how he went on an official visit to Clemson, and Leggett didn't even know his name when he got there. And you're like, dude, you're about to sign me. You don't even know my name. Like, okay. And so anywho, I
worked out well for us.
Ditched out from Coastal. Tanner, you get here though, and everyone's story is the same. Tanner, he takes you in his car, he drives you around himself, he's talking to your family, he's telling you this is that, here's the stadium. It's this whole different scenario. So quickly, and by the way, this was the first school that I ever got recruited from. I had my good friends here, Roth, Wingo, a few others that I felt like I was meant to be here anyways. So worked out perfect, was able to get here. But then had to sit.
Right. So for sure, that 10 season.